Hai semua, Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera. Okey, para guru, ibu bapa dan para pelajar yang cikgu kasih sekalian. Okey, cikgu Naini atau cikgu Naini Harun daripada Pendidikan Biologi AYU STPM Matrikulasi Akademi YouTube. Okey, cikgu berkenalan sedikit dengan cikgu. Okey, cikgu bertugas di SMK Sultan Sulaiman. Okey, teaching experience 23 years old. 23 years and teaching biology STPM dan STPM 7 years teaching in 70 years teaching in biology STPM. Okay, so my channel is Cikgu Naini HR. Okay, so this is my channel. Okay, so Cikgu Naini HR channel. Okay, jadi pada malam ini tuition online ini bersiaran secara langsung dari channel saya. Okay, Cikgu Naini HR. Bermula percuma, segalanya percuma. Okay, so dan anda semua juga boleh join me for more biology contents and PAKAR collaborative playlist for other subject. Okay, in my description. Okay, so other teammate in biology PAKAR matrikulasi STPM Academy YouTuber. Okay, which is led by Nur Faiz Ahmad. Okay, she's from College Matrikulasi Negeri Sembilan Kuala Pilah. Okay, so her teaching experience 26 years, 15 years at boarding school and 11 years at College Matrikulasi Negeri Sembilan. Okay, so her channel is Cikgu Faizah. Okay, so other my teammate is Cikgu Fatihah Binti Mansur, okay, from Pusat Tuisyen SMK Sultan Selangor. Her teaching experience 29 years, 20 years in Form 6. Okay, so her channel is Cikgu Fatihah. And my other teammate, okay, the last one is Cikgu Wahidah Binti Zakaria. She from College Matrikulasi Pahang. And teaching experience is 11 years teaching biology in matriculation. Okay, so her channel is Oh My Biology by Miss Bapa. So other subject you can find in STPM mathematics. Okay, so the mathematics live on Saturday, okay, 5 p.m. For Kimia Prayu, okay, so they are live at on Sunday, 3:30 p.m. And for matriculation perakaunan and economy on Wednesday, 9:30 p.m. Okay, so other STPM subject you can find out pengajian MURID, pengajian perniagaan, perakaunan STPM. Okay, so you can find the time, the schedule about their tuition on www.academyyoutuber.com. Okay, so more other subject for SPM and also other. Okay, so what is topic today? So teacher want to discuss about cardiac cycle. Okay, this lesson tonight is continue from previous lesson. Okay, because the previous lesson is about the heartbeat. Okay, and the structure of heart. Okay, so for cardiac cycle, teacher relate to the graph, okay, of cardiac cycle and the phase in cardiac cycle. Okay, so you should be able to define systole and diastole, and you will also explain the sequence of event in cardiac cycle, okay, including changes in pressure and volume in aorta left atrium and left ventricle. Okay, for matriculation semester 2, okay, already they are already have exam. They can explain the cardiac cycle and also explain about the graph, the ECG, emphasis on P wave, QRS, complex, and T wave. Okay, this is about the cardiac cycle on the graph. Okay. Okay. So, what is cardiac cycle? Okay, so the cardiac cycle is the heart, okay, contracts and relax in a rhythmic cycle. Okay, this is called cardiac cycle. Okay, so the contraction, okay, the contraction of heart, pumping phase is called systole, and the relaxation of feeling phase is called diastole. Okay, so when you measure your blood pressure, okay, at clinic or so on, when you have a fever and so on, so the blood pressure is measured using systolic and diastolic. Okay, so this is the spike manometer to measure the blood pressure. Okay, so the above reading, okay, 1 to 0 is systolic. Okay, systolic, that means the contraction. Okay, for this measurement, they depend on the ventricle. Okay, so the above one, systolic, is about systolic ventricle, and the diastolic is about the diastole ventricle. Okay. Okay, so this is example. Okay, so the example that the important about the cardiac cycle, you must know. Okay. Okay, so this one, 120 and 70, this is a normal blood pressure. Okay, so this is the phase, the event in cardiac cycle. So the event must be sequenced. Okay. Remember, for information also, one cardiac cycle, that means one heartbeat, is about 0.8 seconds. Okay, so you see that the phase, okay, for atria and ventricular diastole is about 0.4 seconds. And then the atria systole, okay, atria systole, atria contract, and ventricular diastole, ventricle relax, is about 0.1 second. And the ventricular systole, atria diastole is about 0.3 second. Okay, so it's about 0.8 second to complete one cardiac cycle. Okay, so let me discuss detail about atria. Okay, atria and ventricular diastole. Okay, so this the cross-spelling here, A-T-R-I-A-L. Okay, sorry, the atria and ventricular diastole. Okay, so you see that this is atria and this is ventricle. Okay, so diastole, that means the atria and the ventricle is in relaxation phase. Okay, but remember, during the relaxation phase, the blood enter our heart. Okay. Okay, so the atria and ventricles are relaxed. Okay, sorry for the wrong spelling. Atria, A-T-R-E-A. And during this phase, the SV are closed. Okay, so you see that this one, okay, this one, this is AV. Okay, so this is SV, semi-ventricular valve. Okay, okay, and then the AV valve. Okay, here is the AV valve. Okay, AV valve that refer to atrioventricular valve are open. Okay, so you see that the atria, okay, so the atria is filled with blood. Okay, so starting the atria, okay, and then from atria going to the ventricle. Okay, so now the blood will fill the ventricle, okay, because from the atria and then go to the ventricle. Okay, so this one is the phase of atria and ventricular diastole. Okay, how about the atria systole? Okay, so okay, this is a wrong spelling, okay, atria systole. Okay, so the atria contract. Okay, the atria contract. So this one, you see that the atria, okay, contract and push the blood into the ventricle. Okay, and notice that the SV valve, okay, semilunar valve are closed. Okay, so still closed. And the atrioventricular valve open, okay, to make sure the blood still in the ventricle. Okay, and then the blood is pumped out of atria into the ventricle. Okay, so the atria systole, atria contract, and that push the blood pump out of atria into ventricle. Okay. Okay, now we're going to the important phase, because in ventricular systole there are about the closing of the atrioventricular valve. Okay, so that means the first sound, okay, and then the second sound, which is SV valve. Okay, 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 but the ventricular systole only the AV valve we close. Okay, so let's see. So atria relax, okay, and the ventricles contract. Okay, that means when ventricle contracts, so it will close the atrioventricular valve. Okay, so this one will close the atrioventricular valve. Okay, this is vesicle contract. Okay, and we see that the SV valve are open. Okay, so when AV valve are closed, that will produce the first sound. So the first sound is loop. Okay, so why the what we say apabila kita memberi penerangan tentang bunyi degupan jantung, kita akan bunyikan loop and dot. Okay, so that's why when AV valve close, it will create the first sound that is loop. Okay, and so you see that when SV valve open and the high pressure of ventricle, so the blood is pumped out of ventricle into the aorta. Okay, the aorta and the pulmonary artery. Okay, so let's see about the graph. Okay, the graph of cardiac cycle. Okay, so we want to discuss detail about the first sound and the second sound, and also we want to discuss about detail about the atria and ventricular and also aorta pressure, because this pressure is made important things to open and closing the atrioventricular valve and also semilunar ventricular semilunar valve, SV. Okay, so this one is about the cardiac cycle graph. Okay, so see that this is atria systole. Okay, so atria systole. Okay, see that, okay, the blood, okay, the blood, okay, will feed the atria and also the ventricle. So notice that the pressure, okay, the blue one, okay, the blue one is the atrial pressure, is higher than ventricle. And so the blood flow into ventricle. Okay, so the pressure of atria push the blood flow into the ventricle and open the AV valve. Okay, let's see when the second phase, okay, for ventricular systole. Okay, for ventricular systole, the important thing is this. Okay, this point. Yeah. Okay, so the ventricular pressure here is at 6 atrial pressure. Okay, see, at 6 atrial pressure. And that push AV valve through ventricular valve to close. Okay, so here at the point A, so remember and you see at point A, the pressure of ventricular is higher than atrial. Okay, so this is create the first sound, which is called loop. Okay, and notice that at point P, okay, here is point P. Okay, see the ventricular pressure here. Okay, so the ventricular pressure is higher than aortic pressure. Okay, this is aortic pressure. Okay, this is ventricular pressure. Okay, so what happened at point P when ventricular pressure is higher than aortic pressure? Okay, see, the blood will flow out, okay, from the ventricle. Okay, so that push the semilunar valve to open and the blood will flow out from the ventricle, okay, through aorta. Okay, so remember at point P, the SV, okay, SV valve or semilunar valve open. Okay, so student, you must know the state of atrioventricular valve and semilunar valve, because they are point here refer to the valve. Okay. Okay, so at point Q, okay, point Q is already diastole. Diastole, that means diastole starting of atria and then ventricle. Okay, so you see here the atria, okay, and the ventricle. Okay, so that means when the two atria and ventricle relax, okay, during diastole phase, okay, the blood will enter the heart. Okay, so at point Q, higher pressure in aorta push, okay, SV valve, that means semilunar valve, to shut. Okay, so you see this is aortic pressure, okay, higher than ventricular pressure. Okay, so this one create the second sound, okay, do. Okay, so notice that the first sound, okay, at 0.1, okay, that means after the atrial systole. The second sound is after ventricular systole, okay, at 0.4, okay, starting for diastole. This one after 0.1, starting for ventricular systole. Okay. And at point B, okay, here point C, okay, how about the pressure? Okay, so this one for B, the atrium pressure is higher than ventricle. Okay, so at point B, blood enter atria and ventricle, and AV valve opens. That means AV valve open because of higher pressure in atrium. Okay, so they open the AV valve. Okay, so I hope so you must remember, okay, the point, the cross point, okay, between the pressure of the both pressure. Okay, kelas jadi kena faham apa point, okay, point yang terdapat yang cross between the three pressure, itu atrial pressure, ventricular pressure and aortic pressure. Okay, because the pressure dia influence the valve, okay, for atrioventricular valve, AV valve, or semilunar valve, okay, SV valve. Okay. Okay, let's go to the last point about the graph is about the ventricular volume. Okay, so the important thing is about ventricular volume because there are produce different volume between others. Okay, so you see that this is the graph of ventricular volume, and you see during ventricular systole, the volume of ventricle decrease. Okay, that means when ventricle contract, it push out the blood from ventricle. Okay, so the volume will decrease. Okay, so during ventricular systole, the ventricular volume fall or decrease. Okay, because the blood is pumped out of ventricle into aorta. And see that during diastole, okay, ventricular volume rise again, and the ventricle will fill with the blood. Okay, so here, okay. Okay, so teacher hope that you understand more about the graph. Okay, for STPM student, the graph is important in structure question. Okay, so remember the sequence of the event in cardiac cycle relate to the graph. And remember what is atrial systole? Okay, what is the event that happened in atrial systole and ventricular systole and also diastole. And remember, systole, that means our heart contract. If atrial systole, atria will contract. If ventricular systole, ventricle will contract. And for diastole, both atria and ventricle will relax. Okay, but starting from the atria first will relax, and then lastly the ventricle. Okay. Okay, so teacher hope you understand. Okay, jadi cikgu harap anda semua faham. Okay, berkaitan dengan cardiac cycle. Okay, so teacher give you example practice. Okay. Okay, so C is about the diagram. Okay, so remember the diagram and the event. Okay, so the atrial systole. Okay, so how you know that this is the atrial systole? Okay, first from the diagram, you must find out which show the atrial contract. Okay, which one? Okay, that one. Okay, so this is, okay, so this is for this one. Okay, so this diagram is for this one. Okay, so this one. Okay, and then how about the ventricular systole? Okay, so remember, this is the first one, atrial systole. Okay, so the what we said, the blood, both in atrial and then going to the ventricle. Okay, so when ventricle systole, that means the ventricle will contract. Okay, so you see which one ventricle contract? Here, okay, this one. Okay, so this will be the first one. Okay, this is ventricular systole, the first one, contract. Okay, and then okay, before this one, okay, before ventricle contract, okay, at the early, okay, this one, okay, because the blood is filled with the ventricle, and then after that the ventricle contract. Okay, jadi ventricle ni isi penuh dulu, volume, and then it will produce pressure. Okay, so this is the early ventricular systole. Okay, so this one is early ventricular systole, and the third one is here. Okay. Okay, for atrial diastole, okay, see that the blood in atria, okay, that means the first blood enter heart at the atrium, okay, mula-mula masuk pada atrium. Okay, see which one mula-mula masuk pada atrium. Okay, this one, okay, because ventricle not yet. Okay, so this is atrial diastole, okay. And the last one is, okay, you see that the blood is fill up the ventricle, okay, starting point to contract, okay. Okay, so that's one is ventricular diastole. Okay, so this is example of diagram you must remember, okay. And for example of the question in exam, okay, they give you the what we say, the graph, okay, and the point level. Okay, so V, the X, the W is referred to the pressure, okay, and then between the pressure you must know what happened at that point cross, okay. This is the cross of two pressure, okay, the ventricle pressure and the atrial pressure. Okay, this the point that the cross of aortic pressure and ventricle pressure. Okay, then X is only referred to the aortic pressure. Okay, so what happened to the point B? This one. Okay, so what happened to here? You see that ventricle pressure is higher than aortic. Okay, so what happened to the point B? Okay, semilunar valve open. Okay, so when you want to explain what happened to the point, that means it refers to the valve. Okay, and what happened to the W? So W is referred to AV valve open, atrial ventricular valve open. Okay. So other question, what is the significance of the event at point B? Okay, see the point B. Okay, this is point B. Okay, it's about the ventricular systole phase. So the ventricle contracts. So that means the ventricle pressure increase. It exit from aortic. So push the SV valve to open, and the blood will force out into aorta. Okay, from ventricle. Okay. Okay, so teacher hope, okay, you understand more about the cardiac cycle, and teacher hope, okay, do more exercise, okay, to understand more about the cardiac cycle. Okay, so the practice will make you perfect. Okay, you can do the practice from past year question and also other topical question book okay, to understand better about the cardiac cycle. Okay. Okay. So, terima kasihlah kepada semua yang mengikuti kelas cikgu pada malam ini dari awal hingga akhir. Okay, sekiranya anda suka, sila klik like, share kepada rakan-rakan anda dan jangan lupa tekan butang subscribe supaya nanti anda tidak terlepas untuk tuition seterusnya melalui channel-channel cikgu. Okay, dan aktifkan ikon loceng supaya anda diberi notification, okay, supaya tidak terlepas dari kelas seterusnya. Okay, pada malam ini tiada link sedia diberikan, okay, kerana kelas pada malam ini adalah direkodkan secara premier. Okay, jadi kelas seterusnya untuk tuition biologi Melayu adalah pada waktu dan hari yang sama, okay, iaitu hari Sabtu jam 9:30 malam. Okay, sama ada secara live atau direkodkan terlebih dahulu. Okay, dan jangan lupa untuk ke portal Akademi YouTuber untuk melihat jadual tuition online percuma bagi subjek-subjek yang lain. Okay. Okay, jadi hanya itu saja daripada cikgu. Okay, dari lain siaran kita akan berjumpa lagi. Okay, Assalamualaikum. Bye.